Now listen, I'm never gonna advocate for taking photos on the iPad. It's just not gonna happen.
All right, good thumbnail. No, we're not actually combining these two things today, but don't worry, it's not clickbait. We are going to be talking about how and when to use an iPad, especially a 12.9-inch one, as a cinema camera, or more so just when you would use it in a cinematography filmmaking environment. So let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm so excited. Why? Because I finally have an iPad again. No, seriously, I've been waiting for this since like mid last year when, if you don't follow me on Twitter or anything, my last iPad Pro accidentally got kind of like guillotined with my standing desk. Now let's get this kind of out of the way, which is actually using the iPad's camera as a cinema camera. If you're new here, using X as a cinema camera is kind of a title I've been doing for the past almost year with a lot of different, mostly phones. I felt ridiculous going outside and my neighbors just staring at me as I'm like grabbing these sample footage of like filming my dogs in the backyard and random things. The camera that's in here is not the same camera that is in something like the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But for the sake of being a firm believer that the best camera is the one that you have on you, maybe this is what you spent your entire stimulus check on or something, and this is all you got. Well, for the next 30 seconds or minute, I'll tell you how to get the best image out of the camera if you actually want to film using this thing. So first step is I definitely recommend using Filmic Pro. Their post-processing is a little lighter, just a little bit softer and less digitally than the stock camera app. However, since this is not shooting 10-bit or Dolby Vision like the latest iPhones, I wouldn't recommend shooting in log. Shooting log with 8-bit, you're never gonna get the graded image that you're really hoping for. So I suggest just shooting in a pretty standard color profile that you're happy with. Make sure you turn off auto white balance, as that changing throughout a clip can be super ugly looking, as well as lock in your shutter or exposure, and then go into the resolution, set it to 4K or whatever your desired resolution is, and set the bit rate to extreme. That's just going to give you the most bit rate, significantly more than the stock camera app is going to. It's going to give you a pretty decent looking image, especially if you're creating stuff for YouTube or social media that's going to be shrunken down anyway. Now I do want to talk about the front camera because the hardware doesn't interest me as much. It's I think a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera this time, but they have a new feature called Center Stage. Now this is primarily used for video calls. So when you open up Zoom or the FaceTime app or anything like that, you have the option to use Center Stage, which basically uses AI or whatever software to recognize faces, and it will actually recompose the image to kind of zoom in on you. So it would kind of come into me right now slowly, and then if someone were to join this shot, it would zoom out, so it got both of us in frame, and I think that is very interesting. I see a potential for a professional use case in that feature. That's why I've always been a fan of 8K, 12K cameras coming out, because most people are like, why? We all watch videos in 1080p. Imagine if you had a 12K sensor, and then if you were like filming band or something like that, you could literally have a camera zoomed in on each one, get a 1080p or even 4K shot of like 5 or 6 different scenes all from one camera. And I believe that AI software is going to get that much better, and this is where we're going to start losing jobs as camera operators, because in a world of motion capture camera robots and electronic sliders that you can program movements into, why not control the actual composition of the actual image that the sensor is capturing? I don't think I'm going to be out of a job tomorrow as a camera operator, but it is a glimpse into what I think is going to be the future, and that's really exciting to me. All right, so back to current day use cases for an iPad Pro, besides carrying around, because yeah, I'm not gonna go out and just hold this thing like this and make a film with that. But you know what I generally would use the camera for? Shot listing, storyboarding, location scouting. So there's an app I've been using for years. I've promoted on the channel before. It's called CAD Rage, and basically it's an app on your phone or tablet that allows you to pick any camera sensor and lens combination and gives you a preview of what that combination would look like. So I can select my Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro and then my 𝗚𝗏 Cine lens, and it will give me a preview of what that sensor and lens combination would give me if I was holding that camera. It's perfect for going out on location when you don't have your big rig or want to lug that around to a new location, but you just kind of want to get an idea of what those shots would look like. Earlier, I was talking about Filmic Pro. There's two features that I think are really useful that they create that you could use for the iPad. The first one requires both the iPad and a phone. Technically, you could use like two phones or two iPads. It requires two devices. It's called Filmic Remote, and it is a separate app, but trust me, it's worth it. Basically, if you want to, say, make a short film with your friends or anything like that on the iPhone, but you want, say, the director or whoever, people sitting behind the scenes to see what you're seeing on a much bigger screen, well, you can easily connect your phone or whatever to the iPad wirelessly by just opening up Filmic and then turning on the remote access, and then on said iPad, it will find the remote app and you just connect them. And now the iPad is in full control of what is on the phone. So you can change all the settings from the iPad, start, stop the record. And then of course it gives you a live preview. Now I personally love any setup that allows for wireless monitoring because it is very like claustrophobic as a camera operator to have like directors and producers and whoever over your shoulders constantly looking at the shot, and it's just inefficient because then people are constantly having to watch what you just shot rather than they can all stand over there, look on the monitor while you're capturing the footage. But they're also working on a brand new feature that is really cool, and the developers actually rushed to get me a early look at this. It is going to be coming out soon. I don't have an exact date, so make sure you follow them on YouTube or on Twitter to see when it is officially announced. But this is the first look at their new scopes feature on the iPad Pro M1. So here I have my LG Ultrafine 5K, which can be powered by any source using a Thunderbolt cable. So I'm just going to directly plug that in. There we go. Now we're mirroring the iPad. We've seen this a million times. Now, if I open up Filmic Pro, we can see the camera here. And if I go to the settings and then hardware, right now we're set to mirror, but now there's a couple new options. So clean HDMI out, it's telling me I have to reconnect my external display. So I just have to unplug it real quick, plug it back in. And now in a second, when it comes back, we're not gonna see any of the settings or anything like that. We're going to see just a clean feed. So this is great for streaming. You want a clean feed because you don't want your audience to see the record button and your time code and the settings and all that stuff. You just want to see what the camera is seeing. But here is the brand new feature. This is the first time that anyone is seeing it. So thank you to Filmic Pro for allowing me to show this off. Again, it is in beta, but I haven't had any issues yet. It is this. This is super cool in my opinion. Again, if you're in a use case where you want this sort of setup where you can literally have this be set up. I don't have like a stand or anything. And I could see myself, obviously you see the false color right there, which they did tell me I can change. All right, so I'll have to talk to them about that. They told me there was a new button. I feel like I'm missing it. If I show you the iPad here, there is, of course, at the top, you can change between focus peaking and false color and zebras, all the various different ways to tell exposure and focus. Then down here at the bottom, there's this little monitor option, which you can toggle between the clean feed and the scopes, which looks really cool. But I'm not seeing how or where to change this, but they did assure me that this can be changed. So if you don't want false color, you want that to be focus peaking or just nothing, then you can change that. But I'm just not figuring out how to do it right here. But yeah, this would be very helpful if this were to be on like a stand. If I'm streaming, this is in front of me, I'm talking to the main back camera. And then over here, I can see all my useful camera information to make sure I'm properly exposed, the colors are balanced. I can see if I'm in focus. If I hooked up a microphone to the iPad or anything, I can look at audio levels. This is the type of setup that you're used to with a professional camera. How cool is it that you can now get this on an iPad? So huge thanks to the Filmic Pro team for sending the beta my way. Again, this is in beta. You cannot see this currently as of today, but definitely go follow them on all their social media channels to see when it's actually going to come out. So there's a handful of use cases for filming with the iPad, but what about editing? This is what we see in most other people's reviews, and it's something that I'm still working up towards. This is where the big debate of should you buy an iPad or should you buy like a real laptop to do video editing? And I'm not gonna lie to anybody. If you are going to be working on projects that need to be shared with other creators to then edit on, do not buy an iPad. Can it work? Possibly. I still don't think it's quite there yet. Now, everyone has been pleading to Apple for a Final Cut for iPad version, and we all yet again have our hopes up for WWDC of this year. And I mean, this is the most potential for the fact that they put their computer Apple Silicon in the iPad. So but to LumaFusion's credit, they've implemented a lot of the features that people asked of Apple. So name brand aside, it's got a ton of features. So if you are going to be editing on the iPad, there's a lot of options. You have iMovie built in. Of course, there's Adobe Rush and a handful of others, but I think it's safe to say that LumaFusion is the best video editor for iPad. So is the latest iPad Pro a cinema camera? No. But can it be a good assistant for a cinematographer? Absolutely. I have always loved iPads, and this one is no different. The hardware is incredible, and even if Apple doesn't release any new major crazy iPad Pro specific features at WWDC in a couple weeks, I think it's still going to be a great tool for the main reasons that I mentioned throughout this video. I definitely use CAD Rage if you're doing any sort of streaming, talking show, anything, or even you just want a fancier kind of way to look at filming yourself for like, I don't know, Zoom meetings. Then features like the Filmic Pro Scopes application is really neat. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you think the hardware is so superior and the software is so underwhelming that it's still not worth buying, at least until we see any improvements in the software? Or do you think this is an absolute beast that you want to pick up yourself? And if this video wasn't good enough to entice you to hit that subscribe button already, in just a couple days, I got the brand new iMac M1 versus my $10,000 Mac Pro video coming. So that one should be pretty exciting. So yeah, get subscribed if you're not already. I'll see you guys in the next video.